Welcome to Wildfire. I'm Denby, and this is midlife medicine for women on the rise. Here we believe your body isn't burning out, it's burning through. I speak with healers, teachers and medicine women who walk this path alongside us. And once a month in our Wisdom in the Room segment, I sit with real, ordinary women whose stories are the medicine. No pedestals, no credentials required, just truth. So, let's light it up. Welcome back to Wildfire, and specifically to FireMage, which is my little corner of the show where I get to just riff. No guests, no agenda, just me and you and whatever's been living in my head lately. Today, it's this: 4 things that most people don't know, but genuinely should. And I say that not to be dramatic, but because these 4 things, once you understand them, change the lens through which you see almost everything: your health, your body, yourself. These things don't get talked about enough, I don't think. In some cases, most I would suggest, they have been actively kept from us. And I know that smacks, because most of us like or need to believe that the people in authority have our best interests at heart. The government, the institutions, the systems we were raised inside. Well, they don't. And that's the hard truth. But here we are. And so we're going to talk about the things most don't want to talk about. Because knowledge is your birthright and growing is your sole duty. So settle in, make a cup of tea. Let's go. All right, first one. And this one is close to my heart because it completely reframes how we think about getting sick. Most of us were raised inside one story about illness. A germ gets in, your body fights back. And if it can't manage, medicine rides in to help it win. That's germ theory, and it's the foundation of almost all conventional medicine. And look, it's not 100% wrong. It's just incomplete. Now, I was under this spell for a long time too. I didn't know the difference until COVID hit, and I started reaching out to interview people like Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Tom Cowan, to learn and get up to speed. And once I knew about the distinction, I couldn't unknow it. I couldn't unsee it. Because running alongside the popular germ narrative for well over a century is another theory entirely: terrain theory, or rather terrain therapy. And this asks a completely different question. Not what germ caused this, but why does one person in a room full of sick people manage to stay well? Because we've all experienced that, right? Everyone around you has had the flu and you didn't get it. Or vice versa, you seem to catch everything and your partner never does. Germ theory doesn't explain that very well. Terrain therapy does. The terrain theorist says the ground matters more than the seed. A weed cannot take root in healthy soil. And a pathogen cannot flourish in a body that is genuinely in balance. So instead of asking how do we kill this thing? Terrain medicine asks, what is the state of this body? What has accumulated here over years? What has been ignored, suppressed, and or chronically overloaded? In this model, terrain therapy, your body is not a battlefield, it's a garden. And the question is always, what does this garden need right now? That distinction changes everything. And honestly, it puts you back in the driver's seat, which is exactly where I like to see you. The second one, and this might be the one that lands hardest, especially if you spent years being told that what you feel in your body is just stress or all in your head. This isn't poetic language, it is profoundly literal. Your body does not separate the physical from the emotional. It never has. Every unexpressed grief, every swallowed rage, every years-long low hum of anxiety you've learned to function around, all of it lives somewhere. In the tissue, the fascia, the organs, your atoms. There is now a substantial body of evidence and science behind what traditional medicine knew all along. The body keeps a score. But what that means practically is the chronic tight chest that isn't cardiac, the persistent lower back pain with no structural explanation, the digestive issues that seem to flare every time life gets emotionally complicated. These are not coincidences. They are messages. The invitation is to stop treating your symptoms as enemies to silence and start treating them as translators, as messengers. And nobody should ever shoot the messenger. We need to find the courage to ask, what is my body actually trying to say? What has it been saying for a long time that I haven't had the tools or the permission or the willingness to hear? This is why practices like yoga, fascial release, breath work, somatic work, this is why they are medicine in the truest sense. Not because they're relaxing, though they absolutely are, but because they give stored emotions somewhere to move. They complete the cycle that stress and suppression interrupted. Now, by now, you've heard me say many times that your body is not broken, it is communicating, and that once you start listening, things shift. So I'll say it again. Your body is not broken, it is communicating. And once you start listening, things shift. Third one, and this is the one I find most fascinating because of the contradiction sitting right at the heart of it. Most people, if you ask them, are you a spiritual being, would hesitate. Some would say no. They'd say they're not religious or they don't do that kind of thing or they're a bit too rational for all of that. And then, in that very same conversation, they'd tell you about the time their grandmother came to them after she died, or the feeling they had walking into a house that something wasn't right, or the dream that was too specific to be coincidence, the beloved pet that came to sit on their lap after they had passed on, or the knowing that arrived before the phone rang. You can all relate to that one. So here's what I want to offer. If energy persists after death, and most of us intuitively sense that it does, then energy is not confined to the physical body. which means you are not confined to the physical body. You are, at minimum, something more than flesh. If you can believe in spirits, you can believe you are one, temporarily housed in a body, not permanently defined by it. The reason most of us don't walk around with this awareness isn't because it isn't true. It's because eons of cultural, religious, and systemic programming have been extraordinarily effective at narrowing our attention to just the material realm. And as a result, we label people who are deeply connected to the unseen as quote unquote woo, odd, away with the fairies. There are so many subtly offensive phrases people roll out when they don't know what to do with someone who is genuinely intuitive and connected. It's just how they react when new information challenges their belief systems or when they don't know what to do with you. So don't take it personally. Because here's the thing. If you exist only as a body, you can be managed by the body's needs, kept busy, afraid, and medicated in the queue of compliance for as long as you are instructed. But a being who knows itself as fundamentally spiritual, sovereign, ancient, vast, that being is considerably harder to contain and control. Reclaiming your spiritual identity isn't about adopting a religion or a belief system. It's about remembering what part of you already knows, because it does. It always has. Last one, and this might be the one that, once you really sit with it, changes the most. Everything that has ever entered your body has left an imprint. Not just chemically, though that's absolutely real, but energetically, in your terrain. Every pharmaceutical, every round of antibiotics, every contraceptive pill taken for years, sometimes decades. Everything left over from intimacy with partners, if you get my drift. Every anesthetic, every vaccine, every Panadol, every plant medicine, every substance and every single life experience the body absorbed and didn't fully process. Now, I want to be crystal clear that this is not about blame or guilt. The pill kept you sane through a chapter that needed managing in your life. The pharmaceuticals got you through a rough patch. The plant medicines opened doors that needed opening, even though at the time it probably felt like you were being smashed backwards through some sort of cosmic hedge. All of it had its place, and I honor that completely. But understanding that the body accumulates these imprints over a lifetime changes the question. It stops being, why am I sick? And becomes, what has my body been quietly holding? And what does it need to move through and release? Ayurvedic medicine has a concept called ama, accumulated residue that builds in the body when what we take in isn't fully digested or eliminated. And in that framework, illness is often the body's eventual attempt to purge what it's been holding onto for too long. It's not a malfunction, it's a reckoning. And the same goes for emotional and experiential imprints, unresolved trauma, inherited patterns, ancestral wounds especially. The body stores all of it. And without regular tending through cleansing, ceremony, body work, honest, personal shadow work and inquiry, those layers accumulate quietly until the body has no choice but to speak loud enough to get your attention. This is why I talk about cleansers and personal work not as indulgences, but as basic maintenance, not a luxury, not a wellness trend, an actual necessity if you want to stay well in the fullest sense of that word. So there they are, 4 things that most people don't know but really should. The difference between germ theory and terrain therapy, and why it changes everything about how you relate to your health and the world, really. The fact that your body is storing your emotions and has been waiting for you to listen. That you are a spiritual being, whether you identify that way or not. That's the reality. The evidence is there if you're willing to look at it honestly. And that everything you've ever ingested or injected or experienced has left its mark, and your body may be quietly asking you to help it clear. Now, none of this was designed to overwhelm you, by the way. It was designed to return something to you, a sense of your own complexity, your own intelligence, your own capacity to understand what's really happening in your body, your field, and your life. Because you are never just a collection of symptoms waiting for a diagnosis. You are a sovereign being, a terrain worth tending, a spirit with a long memory and a body that has been trying to get your attention. And the good news, it's not too late to start listening. That's a wrap on today's episode of Wildfire. And if something in this conversation landed for you, sat with you, or lit something up inside or underneath you, I'd love for you to share it with a woman in your life you feel needs to hear it. Because that's how this medicine travels. Woman to woman, story to story, heart to heart. If you're ready to go deeper into your own midlife journey, come find me at dembyshiva.com. The door to Mana Yoga Medicine is always open. And if today's conversation moved you, the most generous thing you can do is leave a review. It only takes a couple of minutes, and it helps Wildfire reach the women who need it most. Until next time, stay in your fire, stay on the rise, and remember, you are not burning out. You are becoming.